I'll never forget the night when chaos literally lit up my neighborhood. It started with one of those petty homeowners association disputes that should have just fizzled out. Instead, flames rose into the sky. Sirens wailed and a so-called Karen got slapped with arson charges. Yeah. You heard that right. Arson. You ever live next to someone who seems obsessed with making your life miserable? That was Karen. She lived 2 houses down, but her shadow stretched across the whole block. Always with her clipboard. Always with her snide remarks. Always knocking on doors at the worst possible time. She wasn't the homeowners association president. But she may as well have been. She acted like she owned the entire street. It all started over something stupid. My trash pile. I had been clearing out the shed in my backyard. Tossing out broken chairs. Old wood planks. Even a busted lawnmower. I stacked it neatly, waiting for bulk pickup day. But apparently, Karen decided it was an eyesore. One afternoon, as I was sweeping my driveway, she strutted over in her usual fashion. Arms crossed, lips pursed, eyes darting like she was inspecting every crack in the pavement. "Are you planning to keep that trash pile forever?" She sneered. I sighed, rubbing sweat from my forehead. "It's scheduled for pickup next week. Karen. It's literally not hurting anyone." "Well, it's hurting my eyes." She snapped back. "The homeowners association rules are very clear." "Karen, you're not the homeowners association board." I interrupted, my voice low but steady. That flicker of anger in her eyes. It was like I'd slapped her with the truth. She gasped. "Excuse me. I know the rules better than anyone here." I wanted to laugh. Instead, I shook my head. "Then maybe you should run for president instead of harassing your neighbors." Her jaw clenched. She stormed off, muttering under her breath. At that moment, I didn't think much of it. Just another day, another spat with Karen. But looking back, I should have felt the storm brewing. That night, around midnight, I heard something strange. A faint crackle, like wood snapping in a fireplace. At first, I thought maybe a neighbor was grilling late. But then came the smell. Sharp, acrid, unmistakable. Smoke. I bolted out the back door and froze. My trash pile was on fire. "What the?" I stumbled backward, my chest tight. Flames danced high, orange sparks leaping toward the dry grass. The sound of it, whoosh, pop, crackle, was deafening in the silence of the night. "Help! Fire!" I shouted, grabbing the garden hose. I twisted the knob, spraying desperately, but the water was pitiful against the growing blaze. My hands trembled. My mind screamed, what if it spread to the house? Within minutes, neighbors poured out of their doors in pajamas, some filming, others calling 911. And then, as if on cue, I saw her, Karen, standing across the street, arms crossed, her face lit by the fire's glow. She smirked. She actually smirked. "Oh my God," I whispered, my stomach twisting. Did she do this? The sirens came fast. Red and blue lights painted the street as firefighters rushed in, barking orders. They doused the flames with thick streams of water, the smoke rising in choking clouds. I coughed, covering my mouth, adrenaline still pounding in my ears. When the fire was finally out, one of the firefighters, a tall guy with soot on his gear, approached me. "Sir, do you know how this started?" I opened my mouth to answer, but before I could, Karen strutted forward. "Yes," she announced loudly. "This man has been keeping a hazardous trash pile in violation of homeowners association rules. Clearly it combusted on its own." My head snapped toward her. "What? Are you insane?" My voice cracked with rage. "You think wood and scrap metal just spontaneously catch fire?" She gave a fake gasp. "Are you accusing me of something?" Neighbors murmured, some shaking their heads. I saw Mrs. Delgado clutching her robe tighter, whispering to her husband. She was outside before anyone else. The firefighter's eyes narrowed. He pulled out a notepad. "Ma'am, were you near the fire when it started?" Karen's face twitched. I was checking my property lines." "Property lines." I barked out a bitter laugh. "At midnight." The firefighter looked between us, clearly skeptical. "We'll need to file a report. This doesn't look accidental." Karen's composure cracked for just a second. Her eyes darted. Her lips pressed tight. Then she snapped. "This is harassment. You're all ganging up on me." But here's where karma loves to play. Because what Karen didn't realize was that the Delgados across the street, they had a security camera facing their driveway. And guess what it caught in full HD? Karen, walking up to my trash pile with a lighter in hand. When the firefighters saw the footage, their whole demeanor shifted. One of them even muttered under his breath, "Unbelievable." The officer who'd arrived on scene turned to Karen. "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to step aside." Karen paled. "What? No, you can't. This is a mistake." But her voice cracked. Her hands trembled. And for once, her arrogance slipped. Neighbors gasped, some whispering, others flat out saying, "I knew it." One man even chuckled bitterly. "About time someone caught her." The officer continued firmly. "You are being investigated for arson." "Arson?" She shrieked. "I was protecting the neighborhood." I stepped forward, my chest still heaving. "By burning it down." The officer warned me back, but I couldn't stop. The words ripped out of me, years of pent-up frustration exploding. "You've bullied us, harassed us, treated us like criminals for breathing wrong, and now this." Karen screamed back. "You're the criminal. All of you. I'll sue the homeowners association. I'll sue the fire department." But her threats fell flat against the harsh glow of red and blue lights, the smoke still curling in the night air. She was shaking now, not in control anymore, not the queen bee she always pretended to be. And oh, the twist of it all. The homeowners association president himself arrived at the scene, called out of bed. He took one look at Karen, then at the footage, and his face turned grim. "Karen," he said, his voice heavy, "you're suspended from the homeowners association pending legal action." Her jaw dropped. "You can't suspend me. I am the homeowners association." "No," he said coldly. "You're just a liability." She collapsed into tears, wailing about conspiracies, betrayal, anything she could spin. But no one comforted her. Not this time. As the fire truck pulled away and the street quieted, I stood there in the haze of smoke, my shirt damp with sweat and hose water, my body trembling with exhaustion. I looked at my neighbors, people who'd always been too scared to speak up, and saw something new in their eyes. Relief, maybe even justice. But the bitter taste lingered. Because sure, Karen got what she deserved. But the truth was, that fire could have destroyed everything. My home, my family, my life. And she'd lit it without a second thought. The next morning, whispers spread across the neighborhood like wildfire of their own. Karen, facing arson charges. Karen, reported by firefighters. Karen, finally taken down by her own madness. And me, I sat on my porch, staring at the blackened patch where my trash pile had been, listening to the faint hum of traffic beyond the cul-de-sac. I should have felt victorious, but instead, I just felt tired. Because deep down, I knew one thing: people like Karen don't just disappear. They burn bridges. They burn trust, and sometimes, they try to burn more than that. Still, that night was the turning point. The night Karen lost her crown. The night justice caught up. And the night I finally realized, sometimes, the only way to beat a Karen is to let karma handle the match. Thank you for listening to my story. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more real-life drama like this. I thought it was a joke. 3 bright orange cones had been tossed onto my lawn, and a laminated sign crooked, ugly was zip-tied to my mailbox post. Community parking, public use allowed. My driveway, my private driveway. What in the world was going on? I stood there in my slippers, coffee cup trembling in my hand. Are they serious? I muttered, the bitter steam curling up into my face. My mother's wheelchair sat just inside the garage, ready for her daily therapy appointment. Now strangers' cars were idling in front of it like they owned the place. The first guest was a smug guy in a silver SUV who waved lazily when I tapped on his window. HOA said it's public now, he said, like that was the end of it. My stomach dropped. Public? No, not a chance. I stormed into my house, called the HOA office, and demanded an explanation. That's when I heard her voice. Karen, HOA president, queen of condescension. Mr. Clark, she said sweetly, dragging out each syllable like she was speaking to a toddler. You have more than enough driveway for your personal use. The community voted to open overflow parking for neighborhood events. You should be proud to contribute. Proud? My jaw actually ached from clenching it. My mother's disabled, I said. I need that space for her transport van. There's no way this is legal. She gave a tinkling, fake laugh. The board already filed the change. It's official. You can't stop progress just because you're sentimental. That word sentimental hit me like a slap. By the end of the week, the invasion was full-scale. Cars lined up, blocking our garage, their exhaust seeping into the air we breathed. My mother's physical therapist had to park 2 houses down and push her up the incline in the rain. I'll never forget the look on my mom's face, wet hair plastered to her cheeks. Exhausted, humiliated. I filed a complaint with the county, thinking logic would fix this. Instead, I got a thin envelope from the HOA attorney. The letter claimed my property's easement, allowed for public use during approved community events, and that I was obstructing neighborhood unity. They even included a map with a bold red outline showing my driveway as shared access. But here's the thing, I'd read my deed. I knew my property lines. So where did that map come from? I went down to the county records office. After 2 hours of digging, the clerk came back, pale and whispering, Mr. Clark, this is odd. The file in our system was updated last month. But not by us. Dated. Last month. When she slid the official easement file toward me, I felt my pulse pound in my ears. Someone had added a clause, typed in a different font, granting the HOA temporary overflow parking privileges. The signature? A shaky, pixelated version of my own name. Forged. My vision went white-hot. Who did this? I demanded. The clerk shook her head, said the system log was mysteriously missing. That night I couldn't sleep. I sat at my kitchen table, staring at that forged document, hearing my mother's soft breathing from the next room. I promised her I'd protect her, yet here I was, letting Karen and her cronies trample our rights. So I called an attorney. He was a wiry, sharp-eyed man named Lucas Hart, the kind of lawyer who smiled like he already knew how the story would end. This isn't just a property dispute, he said, flipping through the documents. This is fraud. And if we prove the forgery, we're talking serious damages. We filed the lawsuit the next morning. The moment Karen got served, she went nuclear. Emails flew to the neighborhood mailing list accusing me of misusing community funds for personal gain and harassing board members. She even claimed I'd yelled at a teenage volunteer, something that never happened. Her words dripped with performative outrage. We must protect our neighborhood from selfish individuals who refuse to share. Selfish. Yeah. That's what she called the guy taking care of his disabled mother. The hearing was set for 6 weeks out. In the meantime, I started documenting everything. Every blocked driveway. Every time my mom was delayed getting to therapy. Every new snide HOA email. And the no. This was the kicker. I caught Karen herself parking in my driveway one Saturday, unloading cases of wine for her ladies' brunch. I filmed the whole thing from my front window. Lucas grinned when I showed him the footage. Perfect. That's harassment and trespassing. She's just gift-wrapped your case. But fate wasn't done twisting the knife. 2 days before the hearing, a neighbor named Elena knocked on my door. She was shaking, clutching a manila folder. "I can't keep quiet anymore," she said, pushing it into my hands. Inside, board meeting notes. Real ones, not the sanitized versions Karen sent to the community. One entry made my breath catch. Karen suggests adding parking clause to Clark property. Board member warns it's illegal. Karen says, "No one will check." I looked up at Elena. She bit her lip. She made me type the fake map. Said it was just to streamline the process. I didn't know she'd forge your signature too. The morning of the hearing, Karen strutted into the courthouse in a cream suit, dripping jewelry, smiling like the cameras were on her. She waved to a few HOA members in the gallery. I sat there with Lucas, my hands clasped so tight they ached. And then the judge walked in. Lucas presented the forged document first, laying out the mismatched fonts, the missing system logs, and my real signature for comparison. Karen's attorney objected, claimed it was just a clerical error. That's when Lucas dropped the video Karen unloading wine from her SUV into my garage, and the board meeting notes Elena had given me. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. Karen's face went sheet white, then flushed red. The judge leaned forward. "Mrs. Bennett, did you or did you not authorize this change without the property owner's consent?" Karen stammered. I thought. "No," the judge said sharply. "You knew. This is fraud." Karen's voice cracked as she tried to recover. "This is being blown out of proportion. I've dedicated years to this community." The judge cut her off. "And yet you committed forgery, falsified county records, and endangered the welfare of a disabled resident. That's not dedication. That's criminal." Lucas leaned toward me, whispering, "She's cooked." When the gavel came down, the ruling was swift and brutal. The court found the HOA guilty of fraud and unlawful property seizure. Damages? $185,000, to be paid directly to my family for hardship and legal fees. And here came the twist that made my chest swell. The judge also ordered a permanent injunction banning the HOA from interfering with my property ever again. Karen just sat there, stunned, like her entire kingdom had been bulldozed in front of her. Her attorney whispered something, but she didn't move. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Cameras flashed, microphones were shoved toward me. One of them shouted, "Mr. Clark, what do you think about the verdict?" I glanced at my mom's transport van, parked safely at the curb, and let out a long breath. "Justice doesn't always come fast," I said. "But when it does, it's worth every sleepless night." Behind me, Karen was being led away by her lawyer, head down, the swagger gone. The same woman who had smirked in my driveway now couldn't meet a single eye. Later, Lucas and I sat on my porch while my mom laughed with her therapist in her driveway. "You know," Lucas said, "most people would have just moved on and tried to forget." I looked at him and shook my head. When someone like that gets away with it once, they'll do it again. And next time, it could be someone without the strength or resources to fight back. I wasn't just fighting for me. He smiled. "Well, you fought and you won." The lawsuit sent a message. A breeze rolled through the neighborhood, and for the first time in months, it felt like I could breathe without that tight knot in my chest. No more fake maps. No more smug HOA emails. No more strangers blocking my mother's van. Just peace. But I'd be lying if I said I didn't get a little satisfaction every time I saw Karen's for sale sign go up in front of her house a month later. Word had spread fast. Nobody wanted to live under her rule anymore. Call it karma. Call it justice. Call it a very expensive lesson in humility. Whatever it was over. And as the sun dipped low over the rooftops, I realized something. Sometimes the sweetest victory isn't just winning the fight. It's knowing you'll never have to fight that same battle again. If you love hearing true stories where the underdog wins big against fraud, forged documents, and HOA tyranny, hit that subscribe button on my YouTube channel because the next lawsuit I tell you about will blow your mind. Your father is banned from the premises. the woman snapped. Her lipstick-cracked mouth twisted into a smug grin. She pointed at my 78-year-old dad with an accusatory finger like she was casting a spell. I don't care if he just wanted to sit down. Rules are rules. I blinked, trying to process what the hell I was witnessing. My dad, wearing his worn-out veteran's cap, had just been kicked out of the local mall not for loitering. Not for theft, but for sitting on a bench near the food court without a purchase. You've got to be kidding me. What in the hell is wrong with you people? I asked, trying to keep my voice low, but it still cracked with disbelief. The woman classic hoakaren, clipboard and all smiled like she was proud of herself. Her name tag read Susan Gregory, HOA property liaison, as if that made her queen of the entire shopping complex. I heard my dad sigh beside me, quiet and defeated. That broke something in me. This man fought in 2 wars, raised 3 kids alone after mom passed, and now this lady was publicly humiliating him for sitting down? It's private property, Karen barked again. HOA guidelines are crystal clear. Unauthorized persons will be removed, especially repeat loiterers. Repeat loiterers? Are you serious? I hissed. He sat down for 10 minutes. He just got out of physical therapy. She crossed her arms, eyebrows raised in challenge. You're free to submit a formal complaint, but he's not coming back. We've documented him before. Frankly, it's borderline fraud pretending to be a customer, just to exploit public seating. That's when my badge nearly burned a hole through my wallet. I didn't flash it, not yet. I wanted to see how far this would go. The power trip, the arrogance, the performance. Karen wasn't security. She wasn't even staff. She was part of the local HOA board that volunteered to monitor the community-owned mall space. They had no real authority, but they'd sure fooled enough people. I turned to my dad.
Small, pup.
Let's get out of here, I said, gritting my teeth. We walked away under the glares of 2 other HOA enforcers in matching khaki vests. One of them snorted as we passed like he'd just won a prize. Back in the truck, Dad stared out the window, quiet for a minute before muttering. They said last week I was taking up space. That's why I didn't want to come today.
Jesus Christ.
I gripped the steering wheel hard. They've said stuff before? He just nodded. Didn't want to bother you. You already do so much. That was it. That was the final straw. This wasn't about a mall. It wasn't even about a bench. This was targeted harassment, and it had been going on for weeks, maybe longer. And the worst part? These HOA clowns thought no one could stop them. They'd gotten bold. Too bold. They had no idea who they'd just pissed off. The next morning, I put on my uniform. Full gear. Badge, gun, radio, everything. Not because I needed it, because they did. I walked back into the mall, boots echoing across the tile. People turned. A few HOA enforcers froze when they saw me. Karen wasn't at her usual post by the security podium, but it didn't take long to find her. She was arguing with a teenage boy near the smoothie counter. "Excuse me?" I said loudly, flashing my badge. She turned, blinking, confused. "Can I help you, officer?" I didn't smile. "You banned a man yesterday, an elderly veteran. My father." She opened her mouth, but I cut her off. "I've reviewed mall security footage. I've spoken to tenants. He committed no violation. You, on the other hand, impersonated security personnel and violated local trespass enforcement codes." Her face drained of color. I didn't impersonate anyone. You wore a uniform-style vest, carried a clipboard, and issued verbal bans without authorization. That's misrepresentation under city ordinance. In some contexts, it can be considered a form of fraud. Gasps echoed from nearby bystanders. I wasn't finished. "What's more," I continued, "your HOA board has no legal jurisdiction over this mall's common areas. This is not gated residential land. You forged signage last month implying enforcement powers. That's forged documentation. Civil and potentially criminal offense." Karen backed into a table, stunned. I thought we had permission from the management. I pulled out a folder. "Already spoke to the mall's legal team. They're filing a lawsuit for reputational damage and interference with business. You'll be receiving notice. Karen looked like she might faint. And then, like divine timing, mall security arrived. Real security. They escorted Karen and her HOA cronies out of the building under the watchful eyes of every single person they'd ever bullied. The twist? Turns out Karen had been falsifying reports against multiple seniors and low-income residents, claiming they were loitering just to keep the mall's aesthetic clean. She'd created a spreadsheet of names. Dad was on it. So were 2 disabled veterans, a teenage barista on her lunch break, and even a retired schoolteacher who just liked the free air conditioning. I brought all of it to light. The fake bans, the false complaints, the manipulation of public-private boundaries. She wasn't just removed from the HOA board. She was banned from the mall indefinitely, placed under investigation for abuse of authority and impersonation. Andius publicly sued. I visited the mall with Dad a week later. He walked tall this time, nodding at people who recognized him from the news coverage. One of the smoothie stand workers gave him a free cup and said, "You're a hero, sir. And your son? A damn legend." Dad chuckled. I just wanted a bench. I looked around. The mall felt different, lighter somehow. Freer. But I couldn't shake one last thought. One final twist. Karen wasn't done. Not really. People like her rarely go down quietly. And just when I thought it was over, a letter arrived at City Hall. An anonymous complaint, accusing me of abuse of power. I read the letter 3 times, jaw tightening with each word. It was riddled with legalese, vaguely accusing me of overreach, intimidation, and lawfully retaliatory conduct unbecoming of law enforcement. Signed anonymously, of course. But the style? The phrasing? Oh, it reeked of Karen. She was trying to flip the script. After being publicly humiliated and legally banned from her HOA duties and the mall she once ruled like a suburban dictator, she was now attempting to paint herself as the victim. The irony was thick enough to choke on. I turned the letter over to the city attorney. They smirked when they saw it. You're clear. This doesn't hold water. Just her flailing in the dark. Still, she didn't stop there. The next week, she tried to rally a small group of HOA sympathizers, others with power trips and petty vendetta, draft a class action lawsuit against the mall itself. She claimed it was discriminating against community volunteers and violating civic rights. It made headlines for all the wrong reasons. Her legal team, a guy who advertised on pizza boxes. The lawsuit was thrown out within days. Not only was it poorly written, but Karen's forged documentation from earlier, those fake mall violation slips, were now officially entered as evidence against her. The judge didn't mince words. This is an abuse of legal systems for personal vengeance. Karen didn't just lose again, she was fined for filing a frivolous lawsuit. Her HOA membership was revoked permanently. And her once proud online neighborhood group? Deleted after multiple fraud complaints. I got the last laugh, sure. But truthfully, I didn't need it. Seeing my dad back on that mall bench, surrounded by real community kids waving, shopkeepers nodding, music playing overhead, that was enough. He looked up at me one afternoon and asked, "So, what do we do now, Chief?" I smiled. "We sit." So we did. We sat down. In peace. And if there's one thing I've learned, when someone weaponizes rules to hurt the vulnerable, stand up. Speak out. Show your badger your voice. Because justice doesn't whisper. It roars. Like this story? Hit that subscribe button and share it, because no one bans Grandpa without facing lawsuit-level karma. It happened on a Tuesday, the kind of muggy afternoon where the air feels heavy enough to press on your chest. I was loading groceries into my car, minding my own damn business, when I heard the sharp slap of paper against glass. Smack. My head snapped. Yupan, there she was. Karen. Our HOA's self-appointed parking enforcement queen, standing by the next row of cars, grinning like she'd just solved a murder. Only this time she wasn't on HOA property. She was sticking bright orange violation notices on random windshields in the grocery store lot. I froze. Those stickers looked official. Big bold letters. HOA crest in the corner, threatening $250 fine, towing imminent. But this wasn't even HOA territory. Hell, half the people parked here probably didn't even live in our neighborhood. Something about it felt off. My stomach twisted. I'd been on the receiving end of her little power trips. Before last spring, she tried to fine me for a garden hose she swore was too visible from the street. But forging HOA violations outside HOA land? That was a whole new level of crazy. I started walking toward her, slow and deliberate, trying to keep my voice steady. Karen, what the hell are you doing? She flinched like a kid caught stealing cookies, then immediately switched into her usual shrill defense. Oh, I'm just helping the community. These freeloaders think they can park anywhere without consequence. Her voice echoed off the concrete, drawing stares. I glanced at the nearest Karen old Chevy with a baby seat in the back and peeled the sticker off. Came away with a rip, leaving glue residue all over the glass. Karen, I hissed. This isn't HOA property. You can't fine people here. She laughed. Actually laughed. Oh, but I can. The stickers are just persuasive. Persuasive? My jaw tightened. This wasn't just a Karen moment, it was fraud. Those forms had the HOA's name and seal printed across the top. And if she was dumb enough to hand one to the wrong person, she could drag the whole HOA into a lawsuit. I pulled my phone from my pocket. She saw it and her smile faltered. You wouldn't dare, she snapped. I dared. I started recording, narrating every move she made. She hissed under her breath, slapping another sticker on a Lexus and muttering, "People need to learn." That's when a deep voice cut in from behind me. "Ma'am, step away from the vehicle." It was the store's head of security, a tall guy with a shaved head and a radio crackling at his side. He'd seen my phone, seen her, and clearly wasn't amused. Karen spun around, instantly switching to faux sweet mode. "Oh, thank goodness you're here. I'm trying to protect your lot from these." But he didn't let her finish. "Ma'am, we've had multiple complaints about someone vandalizing cars with unauthorized citations. Is this you?" Her jaw worked furiously, eyes darting between him and me. "Vandalizing? No, these are official HOA. Not here, they're not," he said flatly, stepping closer. His radio squawked again, and I caught the words "police en route." Karen's eyes went wide. And then, because this is Karen, we hit the twist. She bolted. I swear, 1 second she was standing there stammering, the next she was speed walking toward the store side entrance, clutching her sticker pad to her chest like it was some kind of evidence in a spy movie. The security guy didn't hesitate. He followed. I followed him. We rounded the corner into the deli section, and that's when it happened. Thud. She tried to duck past the hot bar toward the back exit, but he caught her shoulder. She jerked, lost her footing, and the next thing I knew, she was pinned against the linoleum, the sticker pad skittering across the floor. The sound of her squealing echoed between the aisles, a mix of outrage and sheer panic. People stared. Someone dropped a jar of pickles. "Get your hands off me. I'll sue you," she shrieked, kicking wildly. "You're free to do that," the guard said calmly. "But first, you're going to wait for the police." I couldn't help I laughed. Out loud. It earned me a death glare from her. But the security guard seemed to appreciate it. He retrieved the pad and flipped through it. His eyebrows shot up. "These have the HOA's name and a forged legal notice." He looked at me. "You live in her neighborhood?" "Unfortunately." He nodded slowly, radioing something short and clipped. My heart was still pounding. This was more than HOA drama now. Forgery? Fraud? She was in deep. Karen must have realized it too, because she suddenly switched tactics, her voice going syrupy. "Listen, maybe we can work this out. No harm done, right? Just a misunderstanding. Tell that to the people you just tried to scam." I cut in. "Or to the judge." Her head whipped toward me, eyes blazing. But before she could retort, the cops walked in. 2 officers, calm but purposeful. They asked for statements, took one look at the stickers, and I swear their expressions changed from neutral to, "Oh, we've seen this before." One of them read aloud from a notice. "Failure to pay fine will result in lien against property." He looked at her. "Ma'am, you do realize this constitutes a forged legal document?" Karen's mouth opened, then closed. She looked like a fish gasping for air. I leaned against the deli counter, feeling that strange mix of adrenaline and satisfaction. For years, she'd lorded her petty HOA rules over the neighborhood, threatening fines for flower beds, demanding people repaint shutters, even calling the cops on a kid's lemonade stand. And now she was about to face an actual legal fight she couldn't win. But here's the kicker: the cops didn't cuff her. Not yet. They asked her to come with them for questioning. And she nodded stiffly, smoothing her hair like she still had some shred of dignity left. She shot me one last look, dripping with venom. I smiled back, because what she didn't know what was going to make this whole thing so much worse for her was that I'd already texted the HOA board. And one of them, he hated her guts even more than I did. The fallout came faster than even I expected. By the next morning, my phone was buzzing before I'd even poured coffee. The HOA board's group chat was on fire. Someone had already sent around the security footage from the deli Karen being tackled, stickers flying, that look on her face like the world had just betrayed her. The board president, Richard, wasted no time calling an emergency meeting. By 2 p.m., I was sitting in the community center with half the neighborhood, watching Karen storm in like she was about to give some Oscar-worthy defense. She had papers clutched in her hand, probably thinking she could spin the whole thing. But then Richard dropped the bomb. Karen, the board has voted to remove you from your position as compliance chair effective immediately. Furthermore, due to the forged documents you issued, we are filing an official complaint with the county prosecutor's office. You could hear the collective intake of breath in the room. Karen's face went scarlet. This is a witch hunt. You can't. Richard cut her off. We can. And we will. The HOA's attorney has already confirmed we have grounds to join the store's lawsuit against you for defamation and damages. The word lawsuit hung in the air like thunder. Her jaw dropped, and for the first time, I saw something I'd never seen in Karen: fear. Real fear. She stammered, tried to rally her voice, but it came out shaky. I was protecting the community. No, Richard said coldly. You were trying to control it, and now you'll answer for it. From there, everything unraveled for her. The store filed charges for vandalism and fraud. The HOA added its name to the complaint, citing reputational harm and the cost of legal defense. And because her stickers carried threats of property liens, the prosecutor hinted at adding a felony forgery charge. By Friday, Karen's attorney, yes, she had to get one, was already trying to negotiate. The best part? Word spread fast. Neighbors who'd been too scared to stand up to her before started sharing their own stories, threatening letters, bogus fines, made-up regulations she'd enforced on a whim. It was like the whole street finally exhaled at once. I passed her house that weekend, curtains drawn, no music blasting from her patio, no barking orders to the landscapers, just silence. For someone who lived to be heard, it was the loudest silence I'd ever experienced. Weeks later, I got an email from Richard with the subject line "Case Update." I opened it and almost choked on my coffee. Karen had settled. She'd agreed to pay damages to both the store and the HOA, and she'd signed a consent order barring her from holding any HOA office for life. When I saw her at the mailbox a few days after, she wouldn't even look at me, just shuffled past like she was shrinking into herself. And me? I just smiled, thinking how sweet it was when karma didn't just tap on the door, it kicked it clean off the hinges. If you enjoyed this HOA justice story and want more real-life lawsuit drama, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel for the next jaw-dropping case.